Ladies and gentlemen, IEBC is clearly out to influence the outcome of the upcoming general election. For those who follow the politics of this country, last week, IEBC sent representatives of political parties or presidential candidates and other stakeholders to go and witness the printing of the ballot papers. The team went to Greece and they arrived back into the country this week, actually yesterday but one. But the Azimio team noted something very funny and very peculiar. And I want us to do a critical analysis because Raila Odinga's lawyer, Paul Mwangi, has already written a letter to IEBC over the same. And if you add that to the arrest of the three foreigners, it is clear that IEBC is not prepared to conduct a free, fair, and credible elections. According to the letter which was written, because I want us to go through that letter, by Paul Mwangi, who is the legal advisor of Raila Odinga. Paul Mwangi is saying something here. This letter is dated yesterday, which was 27th July 2022, and it's addressed to Wafula Chebukati, who is the chairperson of IEBC, and the headline is Presidential Elections, the curious case of Form 34A, BK2. You all know that the election in this country is a straightforward process. It's normally very simple. You go to a polling station, you are identified either through electronic devices, biometrics, or you can also be identified manually. And once you are identified positively, then you are given the ballot papers. Once you are given the ballot papers, which are normally 6, then you tick. Then you insert them into the boxes. So if you are voting for Raila Odinga, you will insert there. If you are voting for Ruto, you insert there. If you are voting for Jakoya, you do that. Once that's done, at the end of the day, the voting will close. Immediately the voting is closed, then the counting is done. And the counting process is also very clear process. The agents of the parties will be there. The polling officers will start separating the ballot papers, if this is for Ruto, Raila, Wajakoya. Once that's done, then they are counted. Once they are counted, then they are tallied into a form. That form is what is called Form 34A at the polling station. So once they are tallied at that particular place, then what happens next is that those forms will then, the results will then be sent to the tallying centers at the constituency level. At the constituency levels, all these forms will be tallied and the results then filled in a form which is called Form 34B. According to our constitution, Section 39 of the Elections Act provides that for a presidential elections, the IEBC shall electronically transmit in the prescribed form the tabulated results of an election for the president from a polling station to the constituency tallying center and to the national tallying center. So once the results are tallied there, then they are transmitted electronically now to the constituency. Form 34A is handed over to the constituency returning officer. That's why you normally wait for the forms to reach at the constituency, whom fills Form 34B. It is used for the collation of the presidential results. On it is indicated the polling station code, the name of the station, the number of registered voters, what each candidate garnered, and the number of valid votes. The constituency returning officer hands over the form to the chairman of IEBC. So once the constituency officer tallies this, then he hands them over to the returning officer for the presidential elections, which is now the chairperson of IEBC. And this is where the problem is. Out of the 42 returning officers at the constituency, at the county level, 19 of them belongs to a tribe. And that's where the problem is. So according to this letter by Raila Odinga team, they noted something with Form 34A. This is what the content of the letter is saying. I'll try and explain as I go ahead. It says, as you are aware, the Raila Odinga presidential campaign sent 2 people to Athens, Greece, to supervise the process of printing of election materials for the presidential election set to be held on the 9th of August 2022. While at the printing press, our team picked up 2 very disturbing issues. While issues regarding statutory declaration forms that the Commission is required by law to execute and publish regarding the results of the votes casting at every polling station and constituency tallying center. Now, Raila Odinga team is talking of statutory declaration forms. These are forms which are required by law, Form 34A and Form 34B. These forms are what will relay the results. Because the agents are there, they are supposed to sign these forms. And this is what they observed. The first issue they observed is that the Commission has published a second book of Form 34As. We need to go back and understand what is Form 34A. At any polling station, votes are tallied and then they are entered into this Form 34A. So IEBC is supposed to have Form 34A and copies. Copies are normally given to agents. You know what a copy is? And agents of the political parties. Like in this case, Wajakoya will have his copy, Raila will have his copy, Ruto will have his copy, and Mwaure will also have his copy. But in this case, that's not going to happen. What is going to happen is that, according to Azimio, our team picked up that there were 2 books of Form 34As which were labeled as Book 1 of 2 and Book 2 of 2. The team sought a clarification from the commissioner representing the commission during the visit, and the explanation given was that extra Form 34As were needed in each polling stations because there was need to give copies to election observer, media, and other stakeholders. Now, this is where the mess is being exposed. You know, you have Form 34A, which is filed and signed at the polling station. Then you have an exact copy with all security features, and you are telling the aspirants that that form will be given to observers. How many observers are we going to have? And how many observers will have access to this copy? The truth of the matter is that what is supposed to be given to these observers is actually a copy. If you want to rig this election, you rig it at the polling station. So IEBC is clearly out to try and rig this election for someone using this Form 34A. Because once those Form 34As are sent to the constituency, they are final. So if you want to add 120 votes for someone, reduce Raila Odinga's votes by, say, 50 and add Ruto by 70, so that the difference is 120, what you do, you'll disregard the one which is registered there. Then you figured out what was entered into your algorithm, which was where the 3 foreigners were arrested for. So once you know that in this particular polling station, these are the figures, but they're not real, I have to tally them with what is in our system. Then you just throw out that and have another one signed, filled, and signed. And then you send to the tallying center. This is what Raila Odinga and his team are telling these people. And for me, Raila Odinga, his team, Wajakoya and his team must reject clearly what IEBC is trying to do. By having clearly another copy, it simply means that what will happen is that once the results are submitted, Kenyans will believe that that's the truth, while in real sense, the figures are manipulated. This is what they are saying they observed. We, however, reject this explanation. Firstly, because Book 2 of 2, from which it is alleged copies for stakeholders will be obtained, is more than just a copy. It is actually a set of fully fledged Form 34As, complete with all security features similar to those in Book 1 of 2. Form 34A from Book 2 of 2 satisfies every requirement of an election law and regulation and can be used in substitute thereof. So they've also identified this thing, and it is important that if you have Form 34A with all security features in the hands of other people, then clearly you can use another one and submit to IEBC, to the constituency returning officer. The constituency returning officer will be comfortable with it. If they are allied to another camp, then they'll also be submitted to the county, who are now 19 in number. So if you want to rig, then you'll only identify 10,000 polling stations. So this is clearly a rigging scheme. And you think, however, it is clear that book 2 of 2 was never intended to be a copy of book 1 of 2 because it has a separate and distinct serial numbering. Separate and distinct serial numbering. Book 2 of 2 is not an intended continuation of declaration of book 1 of 2, but actually a separate and parallel result declaration form. So IEBC is clearly creating a parallel declaration form, because these other ones are serialized, so that Wajakoya will have his copy, Raila will have his copy. Then they'll announce a result with another form, which is completely a different serial. So you can say that the ones these guys are having is the one which is fake. So I support Raila Odinga and his team on this, and they're saying the only original Form 34s is that the commission need in these presidential elections are 6. One for the national returning officer, that's normally the truth. One for each candidate, and one inside the ballot to be sealed with other election material. At any polling station, you just need those 6. Why? Because according to the law, these are statutory documents. And a copy is inserted in the ballot box. Another copy to the agents, because we have 4. So that makes it 5. Then another one, which is now given to the presiding officer, who will go with it to the tallying centers to be verified. So if you have those 6, and then another copy is still there, so it means someone can come even with a ballot box filled in and will submit it at the tallying center as the real one. If someone will be challenging, because normally when you challenge an election result, what's supposed to happen is that IEBC is supposed to come with that ballot box which is sealed, and they'll open. So as long as you have a separate result form and a separate ballot box which is also sealed, then they'll produce them before court. And what will stop them, the court, from supporting IEBC? So these guys have been cornered, and the ODM team is saying the only original form. Okay, that's what I've explained. So they are also saying that it is also disturbing why the public has never been informed about this, and that this was being discovered at the printing press during inspection. So probably the person who was assigned this duty forgot, or he thought that these guys were not going to realize this. So the question is, why would IEBC print an additional Form 34A? Form 34A has 6 papers. Why should they print an additional, and at whose cost? That's the question. That's one question which IEBC must clearly explain to Kenyans. If they wanted copies for the agents, then it would have been okay for them to now, instead of printing 6 copies, then let's say 9 copies. Then one will be shared by these other observers. So IEBC must stop these games, and the game is not ending there. The other thing which NASA observed, which Azimio observed, is that the commission is not printing Form 34Bs in Athens. So where are they printing? Because you're supposed to print Form 34A and Form 34B. IEBC, instead of printing Form 34A and B, they're printing Form 34A, two of them, and they're not printing Form 34B. Form 34B is also important, because once these tallies are done, then they are recorded and signed by other parties. And now they are saying, this is where IEBC must take Kenya seriously, that the second disturbing issue our team discovered at the printing farm was that the commission did not give an order to the printer for Form 34B. So where are these Form 34B being printed? Where? When our team inquired about this, they were informed that Form 34B was not necessary, and that it will generate itself when results from Form 34As are keyed in. So IBC is being cheeky here that once they use those Form 34As which are fake and submitted the result, then you will generate the results and have the copies. These forms need to be filled by a human being. Hapa ni ngapi? Hapa ni ngapi? Then they are tallied. The agent signed. You don't just tell people, okay, these are the results, they are printed. In cases where collusion is happening, rigging will take place. IBC must understand that the drafters of the constitution knew what they were doing. And they are saying, when our team inquired this, they were informed that Form 38 was not necessary and that it will generate itself. These are forms which are required for election. Even if you leave these, someone can go to court and the election will be nullified just because of the absence of Form 34B. And if they are there and they are being printed, who is printing them? Who is printing them? That's the question. And he's also saying, we also reject this explanation. Form 34B is provided for under Regulation 87(1)AB of the Elections General Regulations 2017, and it is a security document which the Elections General Regulations demand must have a serial number that is printed into the form beforehand. In an election, Form 34B has always been printed with the similar security features as Form 34A and the rest of election material. There is therefore no room for the Commission to exercise any discretion in this matter. The Commission must print Form 34Bs on the same footing as it has printed Form 34A. I raised the issues today at the airport when we attended the ceremony to receive the first batch of the presidential ballot papers. I raised the issue with your deputy in the presence of the representative of the UDA party. So, in short, IBC has an elaborate plan to collude with a player in this upcoming general election. And they are going to conduct an election and they are going to tell Kenyans the results, their own results. And that's why IBC is telling Kenyans that they want the media to capture. The media can easily capture what they will announce based on the forms which are falsified. The IBC must ensure that this election is conducted in a free, fair, credible manner and avoid any possibility of granting anybody the opportunity to go to the courts and have the elections nullified. I don't know what you think. That's my take. Wafula Chebukati, please stop your jokes. Thank you guys and may you have a good day. Bye-bye.